Hello, hello, and welcome to the Jerick Show. I, as always, am handsome Javad Malik, bringing you the latest and greatest security news from around the world in a poorly presented manner. And I'm looking into the backstage room, and Eric is pulling all kinds of weird faces. There's probably a reason for that. He was on a flight to Vegas, and he got delayed horribly wrong. It took him about 20 hours just to get there, with like 4 different flights changing. So I'm thinking DVT, a stroke, an aneurysm, something like that. But anyway, the show must go on. So welcome.
Welcome to the Jerick Show, featuring your hosts Javad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
You know, some people sometimes ask me, say, like, why do you hate Eric so much? And it's because of like comments like this he's putting on the board. I just don't want to imagine a world. I cannot imagine a world in which Eric is competent and likable. But I do need him as half of this show. I don't need him, but I think it's good comic relief to have him here. So how are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing okay. It's the Jerick, the Javad and Eric show. So without it, it'd be the J show, which, dude, you can see I'm a bigger part of that, obviously.
You're the gas guzzling 8-liter Hellcat American. I'm the more like eco-friendly European.
Is that what we're doing here? Yeah. No, but you're right. I am off of a week of traveling. And it wasn't 20 hours. It was like 16 hours to get to Vegas. And but it felt worse. And yeah, it was I had to go to LAX and then back. And our first flight, they had like a delay for the crew or something. Then we hung around and they went to do the safety walk and something smelled bad in the plane. They couldn't figure it out. And I hadn't even been there yet. Right. So you can't blame it on me. Why are you're like locked up, Javad? Did we lose you? Oh, this is even better without you. Anyways, yeah, one thing led to another, and it did end up being quite the mess. We ended up on like 3 different planes to get back over there, but looks like we totally lost Javad, which is fine by me. He's asking me if it's mine or his. Poorly presented. Remember that? So here we are. Hopefully we're still going live. It does look like it from my side here. Oh, and wait, Javad is coming back in as we speak. Nice of you to join us, Javad.
I have no idea what happened there. Apparently my internet had a bit of a hiccup.
So it was wonderful because you just sat there quietly, which is more than I could ever hope for. But now that I'm done trying to fill the time. Welcome back to the show.
You're so relieved. Look at the relief on Eric's face. Oh my God, I almost had to.
If I had actually read the stories we're about to go through, I wouldn't have felt so nervous. But you have all that stuff already queued up, so I don't have to scramble for this. Hey, Mario, how are you?
So, Mario, you've given proof of life to Eric. That's the more
lucky devil. You can see me.
Ever given him his entire life. So.
Anyway, yeah, we do have some interesting stories today. I mean, since I've been on the road, I haven't had a chance to go through many of these, but I tell you, some of these stories look pretty interesting, Javad. What do you want to start with?
Blackbaud, they suffered and I'm sure we covered them when this happened, but they suffered a ransomware attack back in 2020, and they weren't quite forthcoming with their disclosure. But you know what's happened is that they've ended up with a $3 million fine to settle with the SEC. And I don't want to, we don't like talking bad about companies that got breached or anything. But all I'll say is it's important to come clean quickly and to the authorities and to the victims. And I think that just makes everyone's life a whole much easier from a response point of view, but also just from a trust and transparency perspective.
Yeah, and this was a couple of years ago, and I know organizations have learned. We had the Uber thing. We've had, over and over again, it's been shown that being upfront and honest with people is the best way to approach a lot of this stuff. I mean, and you and I, whenever we see something go on, and yet their response is transparent, they're telling people what's going on, what can be expected, we give kudos to them, because let's face it, it's not a day and age where we can just beat someone up for being breach. It happens. Ransomware happens, and it's just unfortunate to see where people try to cover it up with certain things. And yeah, that's where it bites them in the rear. So lesson learned from that, I hope. And, I hope other organizations will learn that as well.
Yes, yes. So the next story is interesting because I've used a Mac for so many years. I forget that Windows users actually have to pay for their Windows license. Now, there's a story of a South African freelancer who paid $200 for their Windows license, and it wouldn't activate. There was some problem with it. So he called up Microsoft official support, official Microsoft, and the technician basically couldn't fix it. So he just ran a crack software and make it work like that.
Okay.
I love your expression because you're hearing this for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of things are going through my head on this, right? Because A, why did he have a crack? And B, what the heck was he thinking? I mean, I did Windows 95 frontline support way back in the day.
Wow.
And had I even considered ever doing something like this, I would have been taken out back and buried. Basically, it would have been a very ugly thing. And you know what? These cracks, though, the thing about cracks is so many of them are used for spreading malware. Like, it's like, oh, we'll run this thing and your antivirus is going to say it's bad because, well, it's cracking the software. So of course it's bad. Go ahead and allow it. And so it's a great way to spread viruses and malware in general. The idea of having someone officially from Microsoft do that is like, wow. And I get it. The activation process is a little weird. When I worked for the US Army, which I know you love it when I talk about, especially over on the classified side of the house, we couldn't necessarily reach out to Microsoft and activate the Windows instances because it couldn't reach the internet. It was an air-gapped system. But we did have things that Microsoft was able to help us with activation pieces to put in place within our own local network. I just can't believe that they would do that. I mean,
so this is the guy. He tweeted about it. He's got screenshots. So he bought receipts. So he's like trying to report it on this is the second time someone reported here, and that's been used by Microsoft support agents. It's not official and not legal, but that all I've got to say is that support technician probably has the highest close rate and the most satisfied customers.
Well, if it's a real Microsoft tool that is used to fix that, that's one thing, right? Like if they had a something that would approve activation and it's not like the kind of crack you get off of, something off of uTorrent or something, that would be one thing. But it doesn't sound like it was.
No. And then the person says, Microsoft officially commented on this. The answer shouldn't just be we're discouraging this practice, but the activation system should be looked into. Struggling to activate products shouldn't be an issue customers face after paying $200. I think it's absolutely nail on the head there.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Funny thing is, if you don't activate it most of the time, it's just nagware. Kind of pops up down on the bottom and says, this is not activated.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what I mean? And so I may or may not have a VM or two running like that, because why would I, activate something I'm going to wipe out in a couple of weeks or whatever after I'm done playing with it? Yeah. So it'll still do most of what you want it to do. But yeah, wow. Interesting.
I know it is. It is interesting. Anyway, what else is interesting is Cerebral is a mental health app. Are you familiar with them?
Yep. I've heard of it.
Okay. So, like most companies, they have like a tracking pixel, which is horribly intrusive and shares data. So they shared patient data with Meta, TikTok, and Google. And let's see what type of information in there. So all I say is kudos to these guys for coming clean quickly.
Oh, so they self-reported.
This is self-reported.
They said, oops a daisy. We probably shouldn't have done this.
The information affected by the oversight includes everything from patients' names, phone numbers, email address, birth dates, IP address, insurance information, appointment dates, treatment, and more. It may have even exposed the answers client filled out as part of their mental health self-assessment, and the app which patients can use to schedule therapy appointments and receive prescription medication.
Wow, that's not just a little bit.
No. Not confirmed is that at least the credit card information has not been.
Oh yeah, well that's always that's the most important thing. Whenever we read one of these, I mean, last week we had the same sort of thing. Oh well, no credit card information was, everything else about the person was, but no credit card information. And quite frankly, have you had to replace a credit card due to fraud?
It's so easy.
Yeah, you call them up, you go, hey, I didn't make these charges. They go, okay, cool, click, boom, another card's on the way. Dude, it's like the most minor thing you can possibly do is deal with your credit card information being taken. All of that other stuff, yeah, that's not good.
So the worrying thing is that I think what the worst, okay, the leak is bad, but what's also there is like the whole thing about the pixel, using the meta pixel so you can check activity, but it allows companies like Cerebral measure how users interact with their ads on various platforms, but it also gives Meta, TikTok, and Google access to information which they can then use to gain insight on their own users. So this is like pure just manipulation. This is all it is. It's like, and I think mental health is such a major issue for so many people. It affects many, many people around the world. And I think with recent events in the world, we've got wars going on, we've got recessions, and we've had lockdowns. I think a lot of people have been severely impacted. The last thing they want is their vulnerability and their being exploited by whichever company it is. I'm not even whatever, but being taken advantage of because someone knows what they're vulnerable to. I think it's a huge societal issue. This is way beyond the sort of like cybersecurity realm.
It's frustrating because share my credit card, don't share my medical record. I know exactly, Mario, that's exactly right. I mean, credit cards are nothing but your medical stuff. And this here, I mean, so is this a case, do you know, Javad, where they didn't know this was happening and then Cerebral came out and realized what was actually going to them? Because I mean, the thing is, when you're dealing with this sort of thing, you have to have trust in who you're telling these issues to. In other words, the patient to Cerebral has to be a level of trust. And when this kind of stuff kind of goes off the rails like this is even more damaging than just some of the person's information being lost. Now that person, what if they have a paranoid schizophrenic that's dealing with this kind of stuff, and now all of a sudden, oh, Meta knows everything about me. I mean, we've seen that in the past too, where some of that's been a possibility, and it's just it's such a bad look. And these social media companies gather so much information on us. It's just scary. I'll be honest. In Vegas, walking through Vegas, minding my own beeswax, went through one of the little malls that they kind of go through on the strip there. And I stopped for a few minutes at the Tag Heuer store, right? Because I love those watches. I'm sorry, timepieces. But I love them, right? And so I looked there. I was there for maybe 5 minutes or something, just looking around. I kid you not. Yesterday, on the way home, I get an ad on Facebook for Tag. I don't think I've ever seen a Tag ad on my Facebook feed before, but lo and behold, I have ads now for Tag Heuer. I mean, that's creepy, dude. That's really creepy.
Well, it is. It is. Anyway, let's take a break from our regularly scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor. Hi, I'm going to offer you a promotion of your channel viewers, followers. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be the best. Auto One, incredibly flexible and convenient order management panel. Everything is in your hands. Turn it on, off, customize. Go to dodgehype.com. Thank you.
Yeah, I just saw that. I saw that over there, and I was gonna just. This is a number of times we've done this, right? We've been live for 15 minutes, and that came from Twitch. And
Yeah.
already within 15 minutes, they're spamming feeds like this. That is unbelievable. It really is.
If only you were this efficient at work.
Don't hate me.
Good news. Good news. Humans are still more effective than ChatGPT at phishing.
For today, who judged this?
For now.
Right? No, this was judged by AI, and it was like, no, really, humans are better.
I know nothing.
Yeah. I'm going to say it one more time, just for the sake of everything. I, for one, welcome our new robotic overlords. Okay. Just in case it's on the record.
You know, it's so this was carried out before ChatGPT 4 was released just a few days ago. So it's probably going to change or whatever. I think, like, if you hire a professional social engineer to do this, they're always going to be better because they're going to spend more time trying to figure out the nuance and everything. I think when you're talking about general phishing campaigns, broad brush sort of targeting things, then it's just the efficiencies that AI brings is going to be great. I did see someone posted about ChatGPT 4, and they were playing it out with it, and they found ways where, like, they found ways to manipulate it in order to get it to lie. So it was asking it to build something for itself, and it hit a captcha. So it went out to Fiverr or something like that, one of those types of websites, and got someone to solve the captcha for them. And in the request, it said that they're like visually impaired or something. They have some accessibility issues, and that's why they need someone to help them out.
See, the one thing that keeps us safe from the robots, and they're learning how to work around it, man.
Yes.
It's Sarah Connor, if you're out there, I wish you luck. That's we'll just go with that, man. I don't even know. I haven't messed with ChatGPT very much, mostly because everyone else is doing it for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's interesting to me is how quickly it's evolving and how far it's moving so quickly. Like, one day someone said ChatGPT, and from there on, every single day we've heard about it, I think, since. And yeah, it's going to get better. And I mean, here we are. I don't even know what else to say about that.
Okay, so Dole, it's a large, like, food sort of thing, based in Dublin.
Pineapples and whatnot. Yeah.
So they were hit by ransomware in February. And the question is, like always, whenever you see a ransomware attack in particular, you're like, well, how much does this cost, and how much do they get back from insurance and all that kind of stuff? And they had a conference call on Tuesday with company execs were asked whether they would be able to recover any of the disruption amount later in year through supply recovery or through insurance coverage. And their answer was, I suppose the simple answer on that is no. We don't expect to recover on either of those categories. So neither through supply recovery or insurance coverage. And I think this is, well, thank you, CEO Rory Bryan, for just saying it how it is.
Yeah.
But also, I think this is the reality that most companies face. They get hit by it, and even if they have insurance, maybe they don't pay out, or they only cover a fraction of what they really do. The whole backlog that occurs because systems are offline, it takes a long time, and maybe companies, don't ever fully recover that amount. It's a loss that they have to travel with for a long time.
One of the good things that came out of this trip that I did this last couple of days when I spoke in Vegas on Wednesday, when I was done, I was talking to an individual, and this was a lot of pharmacy professionals and organizations like that. It was a healthcare thing. And one of the guys came up to me after the talk, and he was talking about he got hit by Lockbit. And he was talking about, the brutality of it. They had to end up paying the ransom. The ransom was like 50 grand, he said. And I was like, yeah, okay. I said, but what other costs? And he's like, man, by the time we got done with the forensics and getting all this stuff back up and all that, he's like, I had about another 200K into it. And so these costs just explode when it comes to that, not including your time down, where everybody's sitting on their thumbs. I mean, you either send everybody home or you're paying them to do nothing, or, or any reputational damage you may have, and we've seen in the healthcare side, we've seen that couple of things. I mean, I think we just talked about it last week where they went after those cancer victims.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to want to go back to that clinic knowing that they lost that information? That may be a contributing factor to people not going to that clinic these days. And that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I realize we're burning through time today, and I blame Eric and technical difficulties for that. But the last story, and I think it's related to this story about how ransomware doesn't recover. So a year ago, Gloucester Council was hit by ransomware.
I can remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was December 21. It was here, and then so like benefits payments and all council services were basically suspended. One thing that hasn't returned is their museum's key database, the database that holds all of their artifacts and everything. It's used to create exhibitions at the venues. It's used for investigations into historical artifacts around the city. And yeah, it's just not back online yet.
I love you Brits with a quote like rather fundamental.
Yes.
Oh dear Lord. That's such a proper way of saying
rather fundamental too.
Yeah, we're kind of screwed without it.
Yeah,
it's rather fundamental. And yeah, if the other thing about this is, and you gotta think about it. I mean, if you get the mummy case too close to some of the other artifacts, you never know what's going to come. I've seen the movie, right? What's going to come alive at night. You really need to know how that stuff all works.
Yeah. But what happens if we get you too close to a mummy case? Well, we don't want to find out, do we? So with that, we've gone through a lot of time. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our special guests that have contributed, Mario and Surreal Interc. So until next week, everyone, stay secure.